I have called New Mexico home for my entire life. I've lived all 18 years here in the land of enchantment, Albuquerque specifically, and I've enjoyed my time here. I like waking up and seeing those splendid mountains to the east. But growing up here has opened my eyes to a huge problem that I would consider to be the predominant issue with our state. Now, substance abuse is not unique to New Mexico, but it clearly runs rampant. Drug induced deaths nearly double the national average here, and we lead the nation in alcohol related deaths. It is an issue that has even made its presence felt in my personal life, and I imagine some of you in the audience have perhaps witnessed substance abuse firsthand as well. There are plenty of examples that demonstrate the magnitude of substance use disorder as a problem here in New Mexico, but there are examples of ways to combat the issue too. This isn't something we could just slap a band-aid on to make it all go away, but we can look elsewhere in the world and see what works and apply those models to our own. Regardless of how, substance use disorders are the forefront challenge that must be overcome for our state. Now you're probably wondering, how bad is the issue? Well, when I first investigated this myself, it was worse than I had imagined. The opioid crisis here is big, capital B. In 2016, Benjamin Levy and other researchers from the CDC and New Mexico Department of Health looked at drug overdose deaths in 2012. Of the almost 500 cases, the leading causes of overdose were opioid pain relievers and heroin, making up a whopping 75.7% of the cases. And way back in 2009, statistics from the New Mexico Department of Health show that over a 4-year period, our state had seen more than 1,800 overdose deaths. Another gravely part of the problem is alcohol. Studies done by the Epidemiology and Response Division show that we have the highest alcohol attributable death rate nationwide. And not only that, more than half of opioid users are binge drinkers as well. And about 1 in 5 of the previously mentioned overdose deaths were in conjunction with alcohol or were with excessive drinking. I would consider the issue at hand as nothing short of a drug epidemic. But we all know seeing is believing, and it's hard to look at a bunch of numbers and inspire change. And this may be why I find this issue to be of such importance. I have seen the effects substance abuse has, not necessarily on the individual, but on the people around them, those who care for that person and are involved in that person's life. My mother, she had a brother who died some years ago from liver cirrhosis as a result of alcohol. And she has a brother and sister who struggle with intense drug addictions. They live with one of my cousins who unfortunately has the same issue. These are family members whom I see rarely for brief instances and for reasons that I imagine stem from the substance abuse issue itself. And my father has had his own experiences too. He has a brother whom I have met only on a few occasions, but clearly has a substance use disorder and is homeless in Roswell, New Mexico. Substance abuse is detrimental to an individual's relationship with the people around them and outcasts them from society. There are plenty of people out there who have distanced themselves from the world and need help. And if you have witnessed it yourself, then the urgency needed to tackle this problem is even more evident. If this challenge is promoted to be the most pressing matter in our state, then I must offer a solution as well. So I looked for solutions, and I was intrigued by the drug policy of Portugal. In 2001, Portugal decriminalized all drugs for personal use. An interview with Helen Richmond, a social worker who spent time in the country, talked about her thoughts on the policy. In the interview, she describes the difference between the United States and Portugal's policies as, quote, night and day. She explains that when someone receives a citation for drug possession or drug use, they meet with a committee whose job it is to determine whether the person has a problem and to recommend whatever help they might need for that problem. She goes on to say, quote, drugs are here to stay. It's not possible to eliminate all drug use, and the idea of getting tough, zero tolerance, punishing, and imprisoning people, not only is it morally and ethically wrong, but it doesn't work. You can't incarcerate and punish your way out of drug use. Although the state of New Mexico is unlikely to see the decriminalization of all drugs anytime soon, the biggest takeaway from Portugal's drug policy is the way they handle substance abusers. By seeking help for the individual rather than punishing them, you are creating an environment that is welcoming and makes the individual open to finding and or accepting help. Richmond also mentions why substance abusers are scared to do so in our country, saying, quote, people who have drug addictions still deal with enormous stigma and demonization because they are considered to be criminals. When you have this type of ideology that sits on top of the drug treatment system, it's really hard to bring in harm reduction measures. By constructing a new mindset for people here in our state that substance abusers are not a threat, but rather need support, I believe it'll only serve us positively. So we can see that the challenge at hand is no small endeavor. Hundreds of people overdose every year, and thousands more die in alcohol-related cases annually. However, having seen the effects of substance use disorders on my own account makes it clear to me that action towards this issue is more necessary than ever. Our state is full of people who need help, whether they know it or not, and the system we have now makes getting help seem very scary. By implementing a new perspective towards the situation, we can make getting help more accessible and produce positive change. But this positive change will require the attention and commitment of our society as a whole in order to create it. Thank you.